Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church, and I'm here today to talk again about the fellow named David in the Old Testament. Today we want to talk about an incident that seems a little strange. Well, at least it seems strange to me. Maybe it is to you, maybe it isn't, but I find it a little bit odd and a little difficult to maybe understand completely. So let's take a look at it. It's 2 Samuel chapter 6, and it involves the Ark of the Covenant. Now, I guess before I read this, I want to suggest to you that the ark is the container, if you will, that contains Moses' 10 Commandments and a few other items that are really, really special. And God said that, you can't touch that. Only the high priest on the holiest of holy days could approach the ark. And touching it was, well, for whatever reason, it was out of the question. So David decides he's got to get the ark back to Jerusalem. It had been placed somewhere else for a few years. So here's what it says in chapter 6, verse 1. Then David again gathered all the elite troops in Israel, 30,000 of them. He led them to Balaam of Judah to bring back the ark of God, which means the name of the Lord of heaven's armies, which is enthroned between cherubim. They placed the ark of God on a new cart and brought it from Abinadab's house, which was on a hill. Uzzah and Ahio, Abinadab's sons, were guiding the cart that carries the ark of God. Ahio walked in front of the ark. David and the people of Israel were celebrating before the Lord, singing songs, playing all kinds of music, lyres, harps, tambourines, cymbals, other things like that. But when they arrived at the threshing floor of Nacon, the oxen stumbled. And Uzzah reached out his hand to steady the ark of God. Now let's stop there a minute. I'll read a little bit more here in a second. Yeah, some of the names are hard to pronounce, and I messed them up too. So if you do, well, we're all in good company, I guess. But the idea here is that the ark and those who possess the ark will be especially empowered by the blessings of God. And the ark is sacred. Now, in our culture, in our lives, we don't have anything that's sacred like this. Oh, we have some special things, but not things that are so sacred you just can't mess with them. So David gets 30,000 soldiers. I mean, he's going to make a big deal of this, and he's going to bring the ark back to Jerusalem. So they put it on an ox cart. I don't quite know how they picked it up, but I've seen symbols where they have two long poles that reach through hooks on the ark and you pick it up that way so you don't have to touch it. The ark is basically a big box, if you will. And they put it on a cart and they're going down the road and people are singing and they're celebrating because the power of God, the blessedness of God is coming to our place. Now, if you think about it, that's a little self-centered. But yet, from David's standpoint, it's worth doing. So everything seems to be going well. I say seems to be going well until until they reach the threshing floor, and there the ox stumbles. And Uzzah, one of the people in the plant here, reaches out to steady the ark so it doesn't fall on the ground. Makes sense to me. I mean, how many times have you had something as you're trying to move it start to fall off? Well, one of the first things you do is try to grab it. And America's favorite home videos, or funniest home videos, are sometimes really good at how people don't grab things. So I can see this image of the ark on the cart, ox stumbles, ark starts to slide off, Uzzah reaches out to grab it. He has no other intentions here that we know of except to steady the ark. Now let's read a little bit more here and see what happens. Then, when he reached out to touch it, the Lord's anger was aroused against Uzzah, and God struck him dead because of this. So Uzzah died right there beside the ark of God. I think Uzzah had good intentions. I really do. I think he was just trying to keep the ark from falling on the ground. But God had said, don't touch it. Kind of reminds me of the story in Genesis about the fruit in the garden. Don't touch it. There aren't many things in life that God says, don't touch it. But this was one of them. And when he touches it, he dies right there on the spot, just like that. Now you can imagine this whole parade of excitement and joy and happiness comes to a really quick halt. And let's read what it says next. David was angry because the Lord's anger had burst out against Uzzah. He named that place Perez Uzzah, which means to burst out against Uzzah, and it's still called that today. David was now afraid of the ark, and he asked, how can I ever bring the ark of the Lord back into my care? I guess part of what's going on here is that David's a little frivolous about this thing. He's thinking about the power that comes from having the ark around us. And he doesn't take into account the seriousness of God about it. And when he doesn't and something happens, he gets mad at God. Now, isn't that kind of like you and I do? We get a little frivolous with our walk with God. We kind of take things for granted. We get excited about something we maybe shouldn't. And then something happens and we blame God. Did you ever do that? Oh God, why did you let this happen? Or, oh God, what? Or as some other folks use the words, which I don't think I do, I certainly don't want to do, have it as a curse word. God sets out just a few rules. Not very many, really, but those are sacred. And we have to remember that our walk with God is something special, and we don't want to take it lightly. We don't want to get frivolous about being in God's presence. Oh, sure, he calls us our friends, invites us to be in his presence and all that good stuff. But we also have to remember that he's God. And when something doesn't go the way we expected, maybe we shouldn't blame him first. A lot of people spend a lot of years angry at God when he didn't have anything to do with the anger. I don't know if that talks to you. I don't know if it talks to people you know. But if it does, I'd advise you to just keep reading here about David. This isn't the end of the story. This isn't the last thing that happens. So you think about your life. If you ever blame God when you should have blamed something else, well, I'll leave that thought with you today. Hope you have a great day. If you have a need or a concern, let us know. We'll do whatever we can, as fast as we can, to help meet your need. Thanks so much for listening. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And by the way, don't go grabbing the Ark of the Covenant, wherever it is. I'll talk to you tomorrow.